It was just a stupid dare. Relax, she laughed after kissing another guy at the party. I left without a word. A week later, she was at my door sobbing, begging to talk. I said, I dare you to leave me alone, and closed the door. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I think somewhere along the line, Jessica forgot I was a real person. To her, I was this stable boyfriend. I was the NPC in her life's movie who paid half the rent, walked her dog when she was hungover, and listened to her complain about her marketing job for hours without interrupting. I was the safety net. I was the guy who was always there, which meant she never had to worry about losing me. And because she didn't worry, she stopped respecting me. It didn't happen overnight. It was a slow creep of small disrespects. A joke at my expense in front of her friends. Flirting with the waiter for better service. Canceling our dates because something more fun came up. Whenever I brought it up, she'd roll her eyes and hit me with her favorite weapon. You're so insecure, Mark. It's not cute. That word, insecure, was like a leash she used to choke me into silence. If I didn't like her dancing on a table, insecure. If I didn't like her texting an ex, insecure. I stayed because I loved her, and I convinced myself that this was just her personality. High energy, magnetic, the life of the party. Then came the house party at Tyler's place. It was one of those crowded, humid nights where the bass shakes the floorboards and the kitchen is packed with people shouting over the music. Jessica was in rare form. She was wearing a dress she knew turned heads, and she had been drinking tequila since we walked in. I was leaning against the kitchen island, nursing a beer, watching her hold court in the living room. She was sitting on the armrest of a couch, laughing loudly at everything this guy, Ryan, was saying. Ryan was the type of guy who peaked in college and was frantically trying to keep the momentum going in his late 20s. Loud, arrogant, and clearly interested in my girlfriend. He knew I was there. He just didn't care. He'd make eye contact with me, smirk, and then lean in closer to whisper something in Jessica's ear. I walked over, placing a hand on the small of Jessica's back. Hey, I said, keeping my voice low. I'm gonna grab some water. You want anything? Maybe slow down a bit on the shots. She stiffened immediately. She pulled away from my hand like it was hot iron. Oh my God, stop, she snapped, loud enough for the circle of 5 or 6 people to hear. I'm having fun. Don't be such a dad, Mark. The group laughed. Ryan laughed the loudest. Yeah, Mark. Let the girl breathe. I felt the heat rise in my neck, but I swallowed it. I'm just checking in, Jess. Well, stop checking, she said, turning her back to me to face Ryan again. You're killing the vibe. I should have left then. I should have walked out, got in my car, and never looked back. But I stayed. I retreated to the corner, checking my phone, pretending I wasn't humiliated. An hour later, the dynamic shifted. The music turned down, and someone suggested truth or dare. It's a game that should have died in high school, but with enough alcohol, adults turn into teenagers. I sat on a folding chair outside the main circle, watching. Jessica was on the floor, cross-legged, flushed and glowing with the attention. Ryan was sitting directly across from her. The game started tame, embarrassing stories, daring someone to chug a drink. Then it got nasty. The sexual tension in the room was thick, and everyone seemed to be feeding off it. When it was Ryan's turn to dare Jessica, the room went quiet. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, a predatory grin on his face. Okay, Jess, Ryan said, spinning his red Solo cup in his hands. Truth or dare? Dare, she said instantly. She glanced at me for a split second, a look of defiance, before locking eyes with him. I dare you, Ryan said, his voice dropping an octave, to kiss the person in this room you're most attracted to, besides your boyfriend. The room erupted in oohs. A normal, respectful partner would have laughed and said, no, that's weird, or picked a girlfriend for a quick peck on the cheek to diffuse the tension. Jessica didn't do that. She laughed, a nervous, excited sound. She looked at me. I stared back, my face blank. I was testing her. I wanted to see if she had any respect left for us at all. Well, Jessica giggled. A dare is a dare. I'm not a chicken. She crawled forward on her hands and knees. She moved toward Ryan. The air left my lungs. She's actually going to do it, I thought. She's going to peck him on the lips and call it a joke. It wasn't a peck. She grabbed Ryan by the back of his neck, pulled his face to hers, and smashed her lips onto his. It wasn't funny. It wasn't playful. It was hungry. Her fingers tangled in his hair. He grabbed her waist. They made out, full tongue, heavy breathing, for a solid 10 seconds while the room screamed and cheered. I sat there, frozen. I watched the woman I had been planning to propose to make out with a stranger in front of 20 of our mutual friends. When she finally pulled back, Ryan looked smug. Jessica looked exhilarated. She wiped her mouth, laughing, her face bright red. Then she looked at me. She saw the look on my face. It wasn't anger anymore. It was pure, absolute disgust. Her smile faltered for a second, but she quickly put the mask back on. She waved a hand at me dismissively. "Oh my God, look at his face," she announced to the room, pointing at me. "Relax, Mark. It was just a stupid dare. Don't be such a buzzkill." Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, bro. It's just a game." "It's not a big deal," Jessica added, rolling her eyes. "Don't make this about you." Something snapped in my brain. It wasn't a loud snap. It wasn't a scream. It was the sound of a heavy anchor chain finally breaking, letting the ship drift away. I didn't stand up and flip the table. I didn't punch Ryan in his smug jaw. I didn't scream at Jessica. I realized in that moment that any reaction, any emotion at all, was currency she would use to call me crazy or controlling. She wanted a reaction. She wanted to be the prize two men fought over. I refused to play. I stood up slowly. The room was still buzzing, people whispering and giggling, waiting for the drama. Jessica was watching me, her chin tilted up, daring me to make a scene. I looked at her. I didn't look at Ryan. Just her. I looked at her like she was a stranger I had accidentally made eye contact with on the subway. No love. No hate. Just nothing. Then, I turned around and walked toward the front door. "Mark," Jessica called out. Her voice had a sharp, annoyed edge. "Where are you going? Don't be dramatic." I kept walking. I opened the front door and stepped out into the cool night air. The silence outside was shocking compared to the noise inside. "Mark," she yelled again, louder this time. I heard footsteps behind me, but I didn't stop. I walked to my car, unlocked it, and got in. My phone buzzed as I turned the ignition. A text from Jessica. "Jessica, 11:42 p.m. Are you seriously leaving? You are embarrassing me." It was a game. I didn't reply. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat and drove. We lived together. It was technically my apartment. I was on the lease. She just transferred me rent money whenever she remembered, but her stuff was everywhere. I pulled up to our building. The clock on the dashboard read 11:55 p.m. I knew her habits. She wouldn't leave the party yet. She was too proud. If she left now, she'd look like she was chasing me, and Jessica didn't chase. She would stay, drink more, flirt with Ryan to punish me for leaving, and crash at a friend's place or stumble home at 4 a.m. expecting me to be awake and angry. She expected a fight. She expected me to demand an apology so she could withhold it. I walked into the apartment. It smelled like her vanilla candles. It felt like a tomb. I went to the bedroom and pulled my two large suitcases from the closet. I didn't pack emotionally. I packed strategically. Clothes, laptop, important documents, the watch my grandfather gave me, the external hard drive with all my work. I moved with the efficiency of a soldier breaking camp. I didn't smash her pictures. I didn't cut up her clothes. I simply removed myself from the equation. I cleared out the bathroom cabinet, leaving her clutter of makeup and creams behind. I took my pillows. By 12:45 a.m., the car was loaded. I did one last sweep of the apartment. I took the spare key off the hook by the door. I left my key on the kitchen counter, right next to the framed photo of us from Hawaii. I looked at that photo. We looked happy. I remembered that trip. I paid for it. I planned it. And she spent the whole week on her phone posting stories to make her friends jealous. I realized I hadn't been dating a partner. I had been funding an audience member. My phone buzzed again. "Jessica, 12:50 a.m. Ryan is offering to drive me home since my boyfriend is a child. Don't wait up." Manipulation. She wanted me to panic. She wanted me to text back. "No, I'm coming back. Please don't get in the car with him." I looked at the text and felt relief. I opened the settings on my phone. Block contact, Jessica. Then I went to Instagram. Block user. Facebook. Snapchat. LinkedIn. Block. 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 I drove to a 24-hour motel on the edge of town. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet. I sat on the edge of the stiff bed, staring at the wall. I expected to cry. I expected to feel heartbroken. And I did, in a deep, dull way. But mostly, I felt like I had just walked out of a burning building. I coughed the smoke out of my lungs and took a deep breath of clean air. The next morning, I woke up to 3 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. Probably one of her friends. I ignored them. Then, a voicemail notification popped up. It was from our mutual friend, Sarah. I debated deleting it, but curiosity won. I held the phone to my ear. Mark? It's Sarah. Look, I don't know what's going on, but Jessica is freaking out. She got home, and she said your stuff is gone? She's crying hysterically. She said she didn't mean to hurt you, and she doesn't know where you are. Just call her, okay? She's really sorry. I hung up. She's sorry my stuff is gone, I corrected mentally. She's not sorry she humiliated me. She's sorry the safety net vanished. I didn't call back. Instead, I called my landlord. Hey, Mr. Henderson. It's Mark. Look, there's been a situation. I've moved out. The lease is up in 2 months, right? I'll transfer you the full rent for the remainder of the lease today. Keep the security deposit, but take my name off the renewal. Whatever happens in that apartment from this second forward isn't my problem. Okay, Mark, the landlord stammered. Is Jessica staying? That's up to her, I said. But she'll have to pay for it herself. I hung up and transferred the money. It was a lot, thousands of dollars I had been saving for a ring. But paying for my freedom was the best investment I could ever make. I was technically homeless, single, and starting over. But as I sat in that diner eating cheap eggs and toast, I realized something important. I had won the game. I had finally stopped playing. But the thing about people like Jessica is that they don't know when the game is over. They think every silence is just a pause before the next round. She didn't realize that I hadn't just paused the game. I had unplugged the console and thrown it in the trash. And she was about to realize just how loud silence could be. The silence lasted for about 3 days. That's how long it took for the shock to wear off and the panic to set in. During those 3 days, I was a ghost. I went to work, I went to the gym, and I went back to the motel. I didn't post on social media. I didn't check her stories. I didn't ask about her. But just because I wasn't looking didn't mean the world stopped turning. Since I had blocked Jessica, she deputized her friends to do her dirty work. In the Reddit world, we call these flying monkeys. People sent by the narcissist to guilt trip the victim back into line. On Wednesday, I walked out of my office building to find Sarah, the friend who had left the voicemail, leaning against my car. We need to talk, she said, crossing her arms. I have nothing to say, Sarah. I unlocked my car door. You can't just abandon her, Mark. She's a mess. She hasn't eaten in 2 days. She's scared. I stopped and looked at Sarah over the roof of my car. Scared of what? The consequences of her own actions. It was one kiss, Sarah shouted, attracting stares from people walking by. One drunken, stupid kiss. And you left her with the rent. You cleared out the bank account. I took my half of the savings, I corrected calmly. And I paid the rent for the rest of the lease. She has a roof over her head for free for 2 months. Most guys would have left her with the bill. If she can't figure out her life in 60 days, that's not my problem. But she loves you. No, she doesn't, I said. She loves that I pay the bills and fix her car. She loves that I'm safe. But she doesn't respect me. And Sarah? If you were a real friend to her, you'd tell her to grow up instead of coming here to harass me. I got in the car and drove off. Later that night, I got the full story from Tyler, the guy who hosted the party. He was one of the few friends who actually had a moral compass. We met for a beer, and he looked uncomfortable. You did the right thing, man, Tyler said, shaking his head. I thought you should know about Ryan. I took a sip of my drink. What about him? He didn't go home with her that night, Tyler said. After you left, Jessica was kind of waiting for him to make a move. She thought they were going to leave together. Ryan laughed in her face. He told her, I don't do drama, and you look like a lot of drama right now. Then he left with some girl from marketing. I felt a cold, dark satisfaction settle in my chest. So, I said, she torched her 3-year relationship for a guy who rejected her 5 minutes later. Yep, Tyler said. And everyone saw it. She's humiliated, Mark. That's why she's spiraling. It's not just that she lost you. It's that she lost you for nothing. She had gambled everything on a pair of twos, and the house had taken it all. On Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after the party, the knocking started. I was staying at a short-term rental apartment I'd found on Airbnb, a quiet studio across town. I hadn't told anyone the address except my parents. But Jessica is persistent when she's desperate. She must have gone to my parents' house and cried until my mom, who has a soft heart, gave up the location. I looked through the peephole. It was her. But it wasn't the Jessica from the party. The glowing, arrogant girl in the red dress was gone. In her place was a woman who looked like she hadn't slept in a week. She was wearing one of my old, oversized hoodies, a calculated move to trigger my nostalgia, and her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. Her eyes were puffy and red. She knocked again, softer this time. "Mark? I know you're in there. Please." I debated not opening it. I could have called the police. I could have put headphones on. But I knew that unless I killed this hope directly, she would haunt me for months. She needed to hear it from me. I unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door. She gasped when she saw me. I looked rested. I was dressed in fresh clothes. I looked like a man who was moving forward. "Mark," she breathed, reaching out to touch my arm. I took a subtle step back, out of her reach. "What do you want, Jessica?" She flinched at the coldness in my voice. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes. I just wanted to see you. I've been calling and texting. You block me everywhere." "That's generally how breakups work," I said. "We didn't break up," she cried, her voice cracking. "You just left. You didn't even fight for us." "There was nothing to fight for," I said. "You made a choice. You chose Ryan. You chose the laugh. You chose the audience." "It was a dare," she sobbed, the tears finally spilling over. "I was drunk. I wasn't thinking. It didn't mean anything. He's gross. He means nothing to me." "I know," I said. "I know he means nothing. And I know he dumped you immediately. That's the only reason you're standing here. If he had taken you home that night, you wouldn't be knocking on my door today. You're not here because you love me, Jess. You're here because you realized the grass on the other side was fake plastic turf." Her face crumbled. She knew I was right, but she couldn't admit it. "That's not true," she pleaded. "I love you. I miss us. I miss our life. I'm so sorry, Mark. Please. I'll do anything. I swear to God, I will do anything to fix this." She dropped to her knees. It was a theatrical, desperate gesture. She grabbed my hand before I could pull away, pressing her forehead against my knuckles. "Tell me what to do," she begged into my hand. "I'll quit drinking. I'll cut off all those friends. I'll give you my passwords. Test me. Punish me. Just dare me to do something. Dare me to prove I love you." I looked down at her. I felt a flicker of pity, but it was distant, like watching a character in a movie make a bad decision. I realized then that I didn't hate her. I just didn't know her. The woman on her knees wasn't my partner. She was a stranger who had mugged me for 3 years of my time. I pulled my hand from her grip gently, but firmly. "You want to dare?" I asked softly. She looked up, hope flooding her eyes. She thought she had me. She thought this was the negotiation phase. She nodded frantically, wiping her face. "Yes. Anything. Name it." I looked her dead in the eye. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just delivered the truth. "I dare you to leave me alone," I said. "Forever." The hope died in her eyes instantly, replaced by a look of pure shock. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Goodbye, Jessica," I said. I stepped back and closed the door. I threw the deadbolt. Click. I heard a wail from the other side, a guttural, broken sound. Then sobbing. Then banging on the door. I walked to the kitchen, put on my noise-canceling headphones, and turned on a podcast. I poured myself a cup of coffee and watched the steam rise. After about 20 minutes, the banging stopped. 6 months have passed since that day. I didn't hear much about Jessica after that. I stuck to my guns. I kept the blocks up. I never went back to the old apartment. But small towns talk, and mutual friends talk even when you don't ask them to. From what Tyler tells me, Jessica didn't handle the fallout well. After the 2 months of prepaid rent ran out, she couldn't afford the place on her own. She had to move back in with her parents in the suburbs, a fate she always said was her worst nightmare. Apparently, the party girl reputation curdled. When you're 22, getting drunk and cheating is a mistake. When you're pushing 30, it's a red flag that scares every decent man away. She's single, and according to Tyler, she spends a lot of time posting vague, sad quotes about lost love and forgiveness on Facebook. Ryan is still Ryan, a loser drifting from bar to bar. They despise each other now. As for me, I got that promotion I was working toward. Without the emotional drain of a partner who called my ambition boring, I doubled down on my career. I used the money I saved from not buying that engagement ring to put a down payment on a small house. My house. I started dating again recently. Her name is Elena. On our second date, we went to a bar. A guy hit on her while I was in the bathroom. When I came back, she didn't laugh or flirt or try to make me jealous. She just introduced me as her boyfriend and turned back to me, completely uninterested in the validation of a stranger. It felt boring, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever felt. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that party. I think about the moment Jessica crawled across the floor to kiss another man for a laugh. It used to make me angry. Now I'm grateful. That dare was the best thing she ever did for me. She thought she was playing a game, but she accidentally gave me the prize, my life back. She dared me to walk away. So I did, and I never stopped walking. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.